The better you learn how to communicate with your athlete, the better they perform. Sports moms. I created this podcast to assist sports moms by understanding the silent battles their son faces while leading them to use the sport as a tool to cultivate their athlete beyond the jersey. No. Like I really need you to really understand what I just said. I'm about to help you understand the silent battles your athlete face and how to actually help them without second guessing. I'm going to help you generate a system. I'm going to help you understand the silent battles they face as a young man, and we're going to develop them beyond the jersey. Because as a former professional baseball player that played in the MLB draft league, it's easy for the sport to become our identity and something that we feel like is really, really, truly a part of us, and we don't want that for our athlete. With that being said, the very first thing that I want to talk about with you today is sports is a tool, not the goal. Okay, so I created this podcast called Find It Within Podcast to help sports moms. And the reason why I created it is because I realized that a lot of the athletes that have all this potential in the world, right, and the families have all this potential in the world, they have to find it within. So I created a podcast called what? Find It Within. Okay, let's get back to what the topic is for today. Sports is a tool, not the goal. The game isn't the goal. It's the environment your son is being shaped in. Your son's environment is everything. And I want to shift some perspectives that a lot of people really, or some myths that a lot of people who don't really know, and who's been on social media and looking up YouTube videos and stuff, how y'all being lied to. Okay, so shift from wins, that's losses, to development. You're playing all these tournaments. Everybody wants to win. Nobody really wants to lose. But the teams who go the furthest and who goes the furthest in the long run, or the players who really go the furthest past these tournaments, are the teams who focus on learning. Right? So is your athlete focusing on the wins and losses, or are they focused on learning? Now, this podcast is going to be very raw and uncut, so I'm not doing much editing. So it will be times where Coach Henry mess up, and that's okay. If I stumble across my words, so what? The same way your kid is going to mess up, the same way you're going to say some things that you probably really don't mean after games and different things like that. Coach Henry is human too, and I want to share that and be raw and uncut with y'all. Next thing is this. Focus on who they are becoming, right? Their discipline, their confidence, their resilience. As a business owner, as a facility owner, I had to use discipline, confidence, and the resilience that I learned from my sport to help me whenever I do have those down months, on top of when I do have those up months, right? And having the discipline to continue to keep going, even when I do have a really good month financially. If you remove the sport tomorrow, what did they actually gain? If you stop the tournaments tomorrow, if you stop the practices tomorrow, the lessons, all that, right? You stop all of that. Who did your athlete actually become, and what did they actually gain? Sports equals tool, not identity. Your household equals development system. Your kid equals long-term investment, not short-term investments. So understand this. Your kid is a long-term investment. When you're investing in your kid in these tournaments and these lessons or these programs, right, you're investing in long term, not the short term results, right? So just because you invest in these lessons or these bats and different things like that does not mean that your kid's going to crush it right now. I've seen plenty of kids who started off crushing it and they got older, they became average because they skipped the fundamentals on what development actually looks like. And it wasn't their fault. Their system that the parent had was really bad. It's just that simple. Right. So understand that the sport that your kid play actually is a business, whether they're playing football, whether they're playing soccer, whether they're playing baseball, it's a business. And the family with the best system wins. Sports is one of the greatest tools in the world if you use it right. But if you don't, it becomes pressure, burnout, and confusion. So some of y'all kids are probably experiencing this pressure, this burnout, and this confusion. And while we're on that topic, if your kid is experiencing this, I've actually created a mini course. And if people who's listening to this video today, you can get it for $97. I'm going to leave my email inside of my bio, or I'm going to leave the link inside of the bio, whichever one you rather use, or you can message me directly. Back to the topics for today. Topic number 2, your household is the real development system. The coach is a piece, but the system starts at home. Most families have no structures, just tournaments and random lessons because they're looking for the cheapest lessons they can find. Consistency and intensity. Consistency and intensity. Consistency and intensity. Not intensity and then consistency. No. Intensity and consistency. Your kid need to be doing the right things. I had a family who came in, had a really good evaluation lesson. The kid has a lot of potential, right? And I said, hey, okay, this is the program. This is what's going to take with your athlete, because each athlete looks different. And this particular family is like, yeah, you ready to go? X, Y, and Z left. Okay, cool. Let's message them. Dad said, hey, we're going to double down on what we've been doing. Thank you for your time. I said, okay, sounds good. Right. And a lot of parents do that. And I had a lot of parents think doubling down on what you've been doing is going to help. But you are at the facility for a reason. Like, you came to the evaluation for a reason. You know what your athlete has been doing, but it's only going to get him but so far. He needs that expertise. That's where I come in at. That's why I have families flying all the way from Colorado, Ohio, different states to work with me personally. And I have a client that's in Louisiana now currently. So with that being said, doubling down and doing more is building. If you're not doing the right reps, if you're not in a really good environment, if you're not getting mentorship, right? If you don't want to invest in that guidance for your athlete, doubling down and doing what you've been doing is not going to work. The game is getting too hard. I'm sorry, right? Especially if you have never really played before and you're looking up videos online. Dads, mom, I'm sorry, that is not going to cut it. We got the transfer portal for kids coming out of high school. We got high school kids that are really doing it in other areas, like at a high level. So your kid can't afford to be average out of high school, like back whenever I was playing. It's that simple, right? So if you have an athlete that's showing at an early age that they want to do this long term, okay, cool. It starts now with their foundation years. So doubling down on doing what you've been doing is not going to play. I can guarantee you that. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but I know it's not going to play. I promise you, right? And this is coming from somebody who did not go D1 out of high school. Like, it was D1, D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA. I went to a HBCU NAIA out of high school called Voorhees University, but I also was able to sign to play professionally in the MLB Draft League, which means I was one of the 0.1% to just go and even play professional baseball from an NAIA school. Okay, I want to leave you with 4 pillars before I actually let you go. And I want to talk about these 4 pillars. I'm going to give you the exact order that you need to be in for your athlete to really develop and grow. Okay, the first thing is this: mental performance. That's the very first thing. That is the foundation. Mental performance has the program that your athlete's on, right? That is so important. That builds the confidence. That builds the emotional control. It helps with his internal communication, his horizontal communication. We get into that a little bit later. Then we have 2, environment. The parent communication and expectations, right? Creating a healthy environment. How do you do that? We'll get into that a little bit later. 3, strengths and conditioning. The body is a tool, right? The more confident your athlete feels in his body, the more confident the more athletic your athlete feels, the more confident you're going to be. Okay. 4, skill development, mechanics, reps with a purpose. You notice mechanics was at the bottom, right? The skill development is at the bottom, right? Because my mindset is off, I'm not going to want to show up to practice. If my environment is off, I'm not going to want to show up to practice and put in work. Okay. If my strength and conditioning isn't right, long-term wise, right? As we continue to get older and the fields get bigger, people get stronger, people get faster, we're not going to be able to keep up. So we got to make sure we master the mental performance, the environment, the strength and conditioning, right? If your kid is struggling with his mindset right now, like he's doing really well in practice, but then struggling in the game, or you're struggling with your environment, then guess what? I've created a mini course that I am literally going to let y'all have for $97. And if there's something that you're interested in, just shoot me an email or just press the link below. Okay. Most people focus on the one who separates and hits all 4 of these pillars win. This is a business. The family with the best system. Let me say it again. The family with the best system wins. Don't let that fly over your head. If your athlete does not have a system after the games, this is how he's going to feel. If your kid does not have a system after the game, this is how he's going to feel. Excuse my dogs. I have 2 dogs, y'all. Once again, like I said, it's going to be very raw and uncut. Okay. once again, the 4 pillars are mental performance, environment, strength and conditioning, skill development. Okay, so if this is your athlete and you are if you have an athlete, you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? What's the next steps? Stay tuned for episode 2. I am going to drop an episode every Thursday at 12 p.m. Every Thursday at 12 p.m. an episode will be dropped. So make sure that you stay tuned.